What's up, everybody? It's AJ with Etro.com. Today we're going to be checking out the RV Safe Carbon Monoxide and Propane Gas Detector. It's just going to be one of those good things to have in your rig, just so you can have your mind at ease when you're on vacation or on the weekend. You have one of these in your home, you definitely want to have one in here just to make sure you don't have any of those gases hanging out with you. Taking a closer look at it, you can see it has an expiration date, or it tells you when to replace this current one that we just installed. So that's something a lot of people don't know, that usually they recommend that you replace these about every 5 years. So even if you already have one in your rig, I would check it when it was installed or when you should replace it, just in case it's near. Now, this is going to make it easier to replace a bunch of different ones, because originally, as you'll see in the install, there was a square hole that was a little bit bigger than what we're installing. That's where it has a couple different plates that you can install with it to kind of cover up that hole and make it look nice and neat. Taking a closer look at the front, you can see that green light. That means we got power and that it's working correctly. Now, it will turn red to warn you for carbon monoxide and propane, but each one's a little bit different. So if it's carbon monoxide, it's going to be a flashing red light, and you're going to get a 4 chirp sound coming out of it. Now, if it is the propane alarm, the red light's just going to be on. There's not going to be any flashing, but it's going to be constant beeps to let you know something's wrong. And now there's a self-test button on the front, so I'm just going to push that and let it cycle through. Those are the chirps, and then you see the flashing red light. So the self-test button is pretty important. It's a good way to go ahead and just hit it whenever you go to start packing your rig up. If you're getting ready to go out for the weekend, you got it opened up, you're in here anyway, might as well hit the button, make sure it's still working. It's just one less thing to worry about over the weekend. There's a few different functions it actually has, one of them being silencing the alarms. Let's say it does start going off, it detects something's wrong, it starts going off, and you just want to get everybody out of the camper. You don't want to constantly hear that beeping. You can hold the button down, and it will silence the alarm for 5 minutes. There's 2 more modes that it has, and that's going to be a low battery or end of life. Like we said, these are only supposed to be in use for every 5 years, so it's going to let you know when something's going wrong. The end of the battery, or the battery being drained, something you need to replace there, that's going to be 1 chirp each minute and 1 flash each minute. While end of life, which means this thing's wearing out, you just need to replace it, that's going to be a double flash each minute and also a chirp each minute. Another nice thing is you kind of have a chart here that tells you what all the different flashing lights mean. And it's good that it's right here, so you don't have to use your phone, look it up on the internet or anything like that. You can see what beeps you're getting, come here and look and be like, oh, okay, the battery's just low. No big deal. There's not an emergency. Another thing to think about is where you're going to put it. If you're replacing one, obviously you're just going to replace the one where it already is. If you're installing one for the first time, there is some guidelines to kind of follow to make sure you put it in the right spot. One, you're going to want to put it in a spot that's around those problem areas. So, you know, the kitchen is usually a good spot to go ahead and install these, because it's near that stove that runs on that gas, and that's going to be something you want to detect if it gets out of hand. Now, another thing is make sure it's in a well open air area, so just don't put it in a closet or behind a couch or something like that. It needs to be around that problem area, kind of like I said before, to detect that stuff. So if you put it behind a couch or in a closet, it's not going to do you any good. Another thing is, since it is carbon monoxide / propane, it's got to be installed lower to the ground. Propane's heavier, so it's going to come down here and be detected down here. It won't be detected like a normal smoke detector that would be up on the wall or a regular carbon monoxide one. So it's recommended in the instructions that it should be from 4 inches to 18 inches on the floor. So just stay in those parameters. That way it can detect that propane if that is a problem. Another good thing to know is the spacing between the screw holes here on the 2 plates. Like I said, we replaced a rectangular one, and this is covering up that hole and keeps it looking nice and neat, but you want to go over that. So this is what you're working with here. You got 5 1/8 from this hole to this hole, and it's going to be 5 7/8 from this hole to this hole. You also have 2 colors, so you can get white or black, whichever one matches your interior the best. Now, how hard is this going to be to install? Well, it's pretty simple. Check out how we did it. We're inside our rig. Look at the power shut off, so it's okay to remove the old one. Now, since you have to replace these every 5 years, it's time to take this one out. We remove the 2 screws here on the sides, and it easily just comes right out. Now the wires are connected in this side inside the cabinet. I opened the door on this side and got them unhooked. They were just some wire nuts, so I just kind of twisted them off and disconnect it really easily. So with this one removed, I'm going to set it aside. We're going to install our cover first to kind of take up the extra hole here. This is a little bit bigger than the one we got now, but this is going to cover it up like this. So just get this lined up and install those screws. We came back with the original hardware because the hardware that came with this detector was not long enough, so it didn't really grab into the cabinet that I was screwing into. So it looks like the original hardware is going to work better for us. So we just stuck with that. It's going to hold it in there way tighter. Now we're ready to install our new detector. Fits right into place there, and we'll use the screws that came with it. Because this time it's going to the plastic right behind it, so it should dig in just fine. Now, luckily we have this cabinet door we can open to show you the wiring, or else we wouldn't be able to get back here. But I can't get the camera and me in at the same time, so I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do, and then we'll show you after we're done. So you see the existing wires and our new wires. We're going to connect the black new wire to the white old wire, that's going to be the ground, and then the red will go to the red, which will be the power. Now you can see what I did without me in the way. I used the wire nuts to connect the wires, and now we're ready to turn the power back on. We've turned the power back on. You see we got a green light, which means this thing's powered up and working just fine. Really was that easy to get it installed. Just 2 wires and some wire nuts, then put it all back together. I like that it was simple. Makes it less intimidating. When you do need to swap one out down the line, you know you can easily do that. It won't take you that much time. And you just have the peace of mind that this is going to detect any propane or gas on your adventures. Just one less thing to worry about and focus on having fun. Well, thanks for hanging out, and I hope this helped.